Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Women's Splain. Today we have an amazing guest, Gabriela Lawrence. She is co-founder of Doce Mezcal, an exciting and innovative new mezcal brand. I'm going to pass it over to her to talk.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gabriela. I'm the co-founder and chief brand officer of Doce. I'm so excited to be here with you ladies to talk all things F&B.
Amazing.
And yeah, should I give a little background on
Yes,
Doce?
give a little background of you.
Okay,
and Doce.
great. Amazing. We launched Doce 3 years ago, and I
Wow.
have two co-founders. And people always ask, how did we come to start a mezcal brand? But I feel like we all have our own unique journey. One of my co-founders is from Mexico, so she's definitely
Very
who
cool.
introduced me to the history and the ritual of mezcal. My other co-founder, Mia, that you know, Sola, is based here in New York, but has spent some time, working in Oaxaca, working with artisans down there. And for me, I fell in love with mezcal just through New York City cocktail culture, truly became my spirit of choice. Went through, the period of your 20s where you try different things. You go from your vodka era, your wine era. I didn't really grow up in the seltzer era, so I think I went straight to mezcal. And honestly, it became my go-to drink because it wasn't getting me hungover. And once you kind of learn about the additives and everything in the spirits, it was just kind of my go-to. It's literally agave and water. That is it. So just started liking it from a flavor profile. It's really great in cocktails. It's smoky. I can sip on it. Large ice cube, and just fell in love. And then we decided to launch Doce 3 years ago. New York is our home market, and we really launched the company as a vehicle to more elevated drinking ritual. I think what we were seeing in terms of a gap in the market is that there wasn't a spirits brand speaking to this new generation of consumer. And I think we're seeing a lot of disruption in other categories, from beauty to different CPG products to kind of different food products. And with spirits, it still felt a little stagnant. So wanted to create in a category that's the fastest growing category, the agave category, and also create something that the consumer can really aligns with the ideals of how they're spending their free time in terms of just wellness, health conscious, but then also something that looks great on a bar cart that they're excited to give as a gift, that they're kind of just, sparks excitement. So that's Doce. And Doce, I'm trying to think, we're 3 years in, so we're just getting going.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here because I feel like I back in love with mezcal after discovering Doce. You introduced me to the Doce martini,
Yes,
which
martini
is
girls.
so good.
Yes.
But I know you have a really cool background in like nightlife in New York as well. So talk to me about, I guess, where you kind of got your interest in liquor and what you did before Doce.
Yeah, for sure. So I've never worked in spirits directly before Doce. And before we launched, I had a PR firm. So this is my second time being an entrepreneur, but much different line of work because it's no inventory, no product. It's just retainers are due at the start of the month. That's it. Low overhead. So much simpler business. But yeah, my background is in PR and really worked with wine brands, some hotels, different kind of CPG food brands, but then also have worked in nightlife for a little bit and kind of knew the side of things from like the nightclub side. And so really my background is just a nice blend of brand building, media relations, influencer strategy, hospitality, front of house. Of course, like a lot of people, they've worked in a restaurant, a bar, whatever, you've done those things. Me, I've always been a hostess. I'm too clumsy to be a server or a bartender. But anyway, so had kind of, dabbled in that and really just fell in love with the experience side of things. And I think spirits in particular is that vehicle to the experience, and kind of serves as that kind of just baseline for a lot of really great nights out, moments of celebration, moments of togetherness. And yeah, just kind of fell in love with the experience side. So yeah.
When you were in PR, were you focused on like clubs, restaurants, nightlife?
I was doing a little bit of everything. I started in fashion. So
Okay.
definitely started in fashion, moved here and started working in fashion PR.
Okay.
And quickly kind of realized 3 or 4 years in that I love fashion as a consumer, but not to work in it. So in terms of nightlife PR, yes, I've worked for agencies that have worked with like the Towels of the world and things like that. So definitely dabbled in it, but spirits definitely is its own beast. its own language. So just first timer over here in that department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you love spirits, you love mezcal.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, mezcal and the benefits and where you kind of source the product.
Yeah, so we've partnered with a third generation family owned and women led distillery in Oaxaca. And kind of the origin story is to that. I always say the procuring the liquid was like the easiest part of starting the company. There's so many other hurdles and things that we've kind of overcome. But the liquid, my co-founder did 2 trips, and we met with Margarita Blas. She runs it with her family, her sons really kind of lead the day to day. And we just fell in love with their production methods, their dedication to innovation and sustainability. And, we wanted to create, of course, mezcal is growing in popularity right now through cocktail culture, but we wanted to create something that you could truly enjoy, like someone has like a whiskey neats, you know what I mean, on its own in its purest form. Because when you go down to Oaxaca, they will serve it to you neat, maybe with an orange slice, just super simple. And mezcal is so special because it's so tightly regulated, which is something that I definitely fell in love with from the fact that like it literally has to be agave and water, none of the other additives that other kind of spirits can have, the flavorings, things like that. So it's just so natural. It's literally just, one ingredient essentially. And at the point and kind of in all of my co-founders' lives, trying to kind of just be on a cleaner lifestyle in every category, was super important. And it's just artisanal, it's handcrafted. A lot of the distilleries and the palenques down in Oaxaca are family run. They've been in family. Our family is 3 generations. And then the agave fields were planted by our maestra mezcalera, her great mother-in-law. So it's just, really familial in that aspect, which just makes it really kind of special and gives more intention to what we're building.
Is mezcal only from Oaxaca? Does it have to be from?
It could be from other states.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be from other
So it
states.
has to
But
be
Oaxaca,
from Mexico.
From Mexico,
Okay.
correct. Yeah, 100%. But, it can be from other states. And I think that's what makes it so, just in terms of the difference between tequila and mezcal. Tequila can only be made in the one state, from the one kind of agave, the blue agave. Mezcal, honestly, is a lot like red wine to me. You can make it in multiple different regions. The flavor can change by the family's techniques, by the time of year, like all of these things. So it's really so dynamic in that way. Yeah.
Why do you think mezcal has not necessarily been, I don't know, kind of expanded or like taken? It sounds like it's very traditional, like family owned, kind of unique.
Yeah.
Why do you think has not necessarily been like franchised or commercialized?
It definitely is a laborious process for sure.
Okay.
And it's definitely something that it's really where tequila was in terms of just like mainstream popularity. I would say like 6 to 8 years ago. Like, it still has like a lot of time and it's still like a newer channel. But I think in terms of the consumer, what the consumer is looking for, and they want, natural products. They want products with, authentic brands, knowing products that they know where the source is. Mezcal answers all those questions. And I think it's one of those things where, maybe it's just an overall marketing thing for the category. You know what I mean? It's just been tequila. It's definitely been the I guess star child, even though technically tequila is actually a mezcal, but that's a whole nother conversation. We'll get into the production later, but no, I think it's really in its new stages, and it's something where really the tier 1, maybe tier 2 cities across the US are the ones that are experiencing it. So of course in New York we get everything first here, but California, it's really big in California and Miami, places like that. Chicago definitely are seeing that mezcal boom. But, I'm from Virginia. When I go home, people are like, is that the smoky tequila? They still don't know. So it's really an education thing, I think, is separating itself from tequila. And that's, everyone in the category to kind of focus on just getting that message out.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I think of mezcal as very high end. I mean, it's more expensive than a lot of tequilas, right? So what is your kind of brand strategy for Doce? Are you targeting restaurants and bars?
Yeah.
Do you have like a retail channel?
Yeah, for sure. So with spirits in particular, you have to go through that distribution kind of versus selling directly. So right now we are working with both bars, restaurants, hotels, and then of course retail, liquor stores, chains. So our business is split like about 60-40, 60 being the bar, restaurants, and then 40% being retail. To grow a spirits brand long term, you're really succeeding in retail. That's really like where you want to be. And I always try to like remember the analogy of like, how many bottles do you think like a Casamigos or Tito's sells like on a Friday night, like across the country? You know what I mean? And like for reference, I think it's like 13 to 15 drinks and like one bottle of Doce. So, yes, like you build brand and kind of recognition in bars and restaurants and getting your name out in that way. But where you're really going to succeed long term is in retail. So it's definitely something that we're focusing on, like lessening that gap and just getting inside people's home bar carts.
Yeah. And I know you're in lots of good restaurants that we love. And you're focusing in New York.
Yes,
now,
New York
right?
is our home state. Okay. One of my co-founders, Mia, and I have been here for the past, like 11 years. So, I mean, it is the most, which you guys know, of course, as New Yorkers, a hard, crazy state. Yeah. But you know what? It's the best in hospitality in this country. And even from like a small business perspective and like an entrepreneurial perspective, if you have a vision, a voice, and you're motivated, like you can get things done here. People will recognize that and people want to, be aligned with that and support that. So it's been a great market. And of course, like some of the best bars and restaurants like in the world are here. So not a bad place to launch. Yeah.
Doce is 3 years old.
Yes.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about, I guess, the thought process that went into actually launching Doce. I know you have two other co-founders. So how did that process kind of happen?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, everyone kind of had their different connections to Mezcal. And I think the three of us came together, kind of at the point where we wanted to create something. And Gabby and Mia, my other co-founders, also named Gabby, not to be confusing, but they had been kind of talking about it. And I had already had my agency at that time. And Mia came to me and was like, I'm thinking about doing this. Like, what do you think? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think it's great. I think you got to do this and that. And just kind of like, shooting back ideas back and forth. And yeah, we decided to come together to launch Doce. I think it was August 2019. Like I said, there was really a gap in the market, and our goal with Doce is to build something to be, a mezcal of memory, the same way that, whiskey has their brands. You have vodka, you have Grey Goose, you have Belvedere, you have all these branditos that you think of when you think of these categories. And mezcal, there was still some white space and some opportunity to present the spirit in a modern way, So really that was kind of the origin. And then Doce means 12 in Spanish. We like to say on a scale of 1 to 10, exceeding expectations with every pour. 1 to 10, it's a Doce, I'm sorry, exceeding expectations with every pour. But really wanted to make a product that from like the liquid to the brand ethos to the packaging, everything is just like more than what you would expect when you think of a spirits brand. And then their packaging is definitely inspired. Everything is very intentional with the way we did things. It's inspired by an Aztec calendar in Mexico, where at 12 and 12 you reach your highest self, your purest form every day. And we're a little woo. I'm personally definitely woo. I'm probably one of the more woo-woo people on the team. Like I'm like, everything is a sign, like, whatever. But that number 12 was just our lucky number. And then even thinking, I read it was like a branding piece talking about just iconic, memorable brands. And it was about the 4-letter word brands. And definitely, in terms of the consumer, just confidence, even thinking about how the consumer is interacting with your brand at the bar restaurant. We really wanted something that could roll off the tongue, easy to say. I'll have a Doce on the rocks, a Doce neat, something that like when it's crowded and loud, people have the confidence, no matter whether they speak Spanish or not, they can feel confident to order their drink of choice. And wanted to play with color, wanted to play with packaging. Mexico is such a vibrant country, and a lot of the product that we were seeing on the shelf was very like heritage, farmer, outlaw, skulls, nothing that kind of like really stood out in a way that you would maybe, at least for the three of us, be wanting to have on our bar card and really be pronounced, on our shelf. So wanted to play around with that a little, and just Doce was born. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So who are your competitors? Because I cannot name a mezcal brand for my life.
Which I always actually like when I hear that, because it shows me that like there's still a lot of space.
Yeah. I guess Madre.
Yeah, that's definitely they're doing some great work. I mean, any kind of mezcal in that like premium, I would say, like $45 to $60 range. We're an Espadín, we're a Campo and agave, 8-year agave. So that's definitely something that like sets us apart. We also are truly like a sipping mezcal too. So mezcal's great in cocktails, amazing. But like for those mezcal enthusiasts, for those purists that want to have it in its purest form, that's definitely something. So I know Madre sits in our set. Yola Mezcal sits in our set too. They're another incredible women-owned brand. I'm trying to think. Illegal Mezcal. They are they've been acquired, but they're definitely always on the shelf next to us a lot too. Yeah.
Okay. And are you basically targeting new drinkers? Like, are there people who are like typically tequila drinkers and you want them to drink mezcal, or is there like an interest that's not being necessarily served?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I feel like it's definitely a mixture of both. I think for the most part, it's also a lot of like bringing people from other categories.
Okay.
So, for example, gin and mezcal, a lot of cocktails you can switch out. So gin drinkers, yeah, also, whiskey drinkers, scotch drinkers, red wine drinkers too. Tequila drinkers will go back and forth because I think tequila now with a lot of the additives that are in a lot of tequila makes a lot of tequila drinkers think it's tequila is very sweet. It tastes like there's a lot of flavorings, and mezcal has no flavorings. So tequila drinkers go half and half because either they're used to like a Casamigos style tequila that's full of sugar and all these other things to kind of like help with that flavor, or purist tequila drinkers. Those are definitely who are on the mezcal side of things. So definitely those people. The one category we can never bring over are vodka drinkers. Because vodka is like the silent spirit. It really has like no taste. So if you're drinking vodka, you're really trying to like not taste anything. Yeah. And mezcal is full of flavor. So, those definitely a combination of bringing other people from other categories. And then definitely, the agave enthusiast.
Okay. And what is like the mixed drink with mezcal? It's not, right? Because you're like, oh, vodka soda, like tequila. What is like is there a well drink version that people would have?
Popular cocktail I would say is like a Paloma, which is with grapefruit, 100%. Yeah. Okay. We have a signature cocktail called the Citrus Spritz, which is blood orange juice, lime, agave, and mezcal. And then I sometimes top it with soda because I like something a little bit bubbly. But that's definitely one of our signature drinks because I think it's good to show like the juxtaposition of the smoky and the sweet. Yeah. And I think it definitely is a cocktail that like even actually the vodka drinkers love that one.
I would love that one.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sounds great. I love a citrus.
Exactly. It's something where it's kind of like it's sweeter, but it doesn't like you still get that kick sometimes that you are looking for. But then of course like the classic margarita. I think what's happening too with mezcal right now, it's being like a mezcal Negroni, a mezcal mule, a mezcal margarita. It's really like so versatile and so many other different cocktails that we're working on establishing the cocktail of the category, mezcal in particular, which we're banking on the Citrus Spritz, which is one of our cocktails. So anything blood orange, and mezcal is great.
Yeah, mezcal like espresso martinis are now.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm a mezcal martini drinker, which for some people that's
is crazy,
diabolical choice.
So but it's like mezcal and vermouth.
It's mezcal, my version, mezcal blanc vermouth. So it's like a sweeter vermouth. Okay. And then orange bitters, orange twist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's strong.
It's stronger. I mean, it's definitely like. It's stronger, but it's really the Blanc vermouth, you'd be surprised, can really like hold some weight if you like martinis. And I think it's more people that like gin martinis are into it, versus a vodka martini.
I had my first one with you and I was like, this is strong, but it's actually really good.
Yeah, it's great. I know. Well, it's also like because mezcal is such a sipping drink too. And I feel like martinis are like a sipping drink. Yeah. Like I always say, I mean, our mezcal is 46% ABV, right?
Wow.
Like for reference, vodka is like a 40%, you know what I mean? Wine, way lower than that. So for us, it's like I always say it's like a good bang for your buzz. You don't really need too much, and I don't know. Maybe I'm like in my efficiency era, I guess, these days.
2 is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. 2 is great. It's amazing. You have a good time. It's awesome. You can still wake up the next morning. It's great. Yeah.
And you don't get hangovers. Like that's what I've noticed with mezcal.
It's super clean. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you don't drink water and if you don't eat anything, like that is the baseline. I remember my sister was like, I finally got hungover from mezcal. I was like, I don't think you had any water last night.
So like happy hour is dangerous.
Exactly.
Start drinking at 5 p.m.
Exactly. Yeah. But from all of the extra stuff, yes, it's free of that. So definitely makes kind of the drinking experience just a little bit more natural, I would say. Yeah.
Something I love about Doce is that it's female founded and led
Yes.
in an industry that is male dominated. And so how have you kind of navigated that? Has that been a problem, just being a female company?
Yeah, for sure. I feel so I can speak to this for myself, and my co-founders obviously they have different, professional experiences. But for me, I definitely was only working with women and gay men before launching Doce.
Because PR, fashion too.
Yes, exactly. Fashion, PR, 100%. So that was, it's just a different like language and a communication style. And definitely the spirits industry in particular is very male dominated. Like it's actually crazy. There's so few of us, especially as like founders in this space. But from the buyers to the bartenders, it's a lot of men. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, has it been difficult? I think it's just been a like mind shift, having to make that, especially in terms of sales and communications and how you get things done and like really the social dynamics to business, right? From people maybe not taking you seriously to people having ulterior motives, like, you know what I mean? And having to kind of like just, really like be a strong woman and really like be steadfast in like her ideals and what you're about and just not take any like, excuse my language, shit. You know what I mean? But also making sure that like, knowing that again, you're working with men, so it's a different dynamic. So I think it's a very interesting process. We'll just say that. Yeah.
And obviously, since 2022, we've had a lot of challenging market economic dynamics. You obviously opened kind of at the tail end of COVID, right? People were getting their vaccine.
Yeah.
And now we obviously have tariffs, some other more challenging things. And how have you kind of navigated all of these different pivots?
Yeah. I mean, between my co-founders and I, we've never done this before. So we like, I'll make a joke, like we go to Google University, like, it's ChatGPT school. Like it's very just navigating things as we go. And we have luckily a lot of mentors in the industry and just like peers. Like Erin's awesome, being able to meet her, thank you so much for connecting us, but like other people in the space that have done this before, I think we've been able to lean on that. We also, our partners in Mexico have equity in our business. And so, being able to work alongside with them to kind of figure out these changes, knowing that like, they know they have skin in the game, they're down to help, to collaborate however we can, together to kind of get through any challenges. But it's 100% a team effort. It's asking, lawyer, what do you think of this? What do you think? The two of us ideating, on the day to day. But yeah, it's never a dull moment. That's for sure.
And when you are pitching to restaurants and bars, are you targeting ones that have existing mezcal cocktails?
Yep.
Or are you pitching and saying this would be a great way to like increase volume?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely places that are existing with mezcal. And I think it's like when we first launched, we're 3 years in. So we first launched, we were just trying to be everywhere, like every bar, restaurant, liquor store, whatever. And then as you grow, you really realize, which kind of accounts are really, showing that sell through and that retention. And yeah, you just kind of can tell, and you figure out also through that process like where your brand is sitting. And for us, we have a more like premium price point, so it's also realizing like not every bar is going to be a fit. Like this, popular dive bar in Williamsburg or Lower East Side, they sell a ton of mezcal, but like they might not have any drinks priced over $15. Like, do you know what I mean? Where, on the back end for the bar restaurant, they're looking for a certain pricing that maybe they're getting better from other brands. And they say, we don't really care. Like this, we're about volume. That's it. That's totally fine. And then there's other accounts that really care about quality, the partners, who they're working with. You know what I mean? That maybe we'll say, there's certain hotels we work with that have like a more higher end clientele that, their clientele is not afraid to spend $22 on a drink. So in terms of what they're offering, they want to offer something cool, niche. Oh, have you heard about this before? No, I haven't. Something that's maybe a little bit more with the story and a little bit more quality in terms of the actual liquid. So definitely through the last couple years, navigating those just dynamics in terms of sales. And then from the retail perspective, a similar thing. There's some liquor stores where, let's say there's like a, screen in front of all the products. Like, is that a store we want to kind of be in? Or is it a store that's maybe boutique and doesn't sell any of the big box brands? They don't sell Bacardi, they don't sell Tito's because they want to have cool niche, boutique style brands with a story. And so identifying which of those kind of retail stores, on-premise location, bar, restaurants fit that kind of mold has been like really the North Star for us.
And I think the brand of Doce is also, as you said, like bright, like purple color. So bright, bold,
Yeah.
confident,
Yeah.
high quality.
Yeah.
How have you kind of cultivated your community of Doce drinkers?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's exciting about spirits in particular is that it's so based off experience. Like it's all experiences, like having cocktails with friends, like really. So we do a lot of events, you know, of all kinds, whether that be like in-store demos to happy hours, DJ parties, female founder dinners, you know, corporate events with, you know, MasterCard, with Glossier, with different companies, and really getting in front of our demo, which we say our demo is, you know, between the ages of about like 27 to 40-ish, living in tier 1, tier 2 cities across the US. These people, they love to travel. They're very curious when it comes to food and drink trends. Maybe they're trying natural wine. They spent some time in Mexico City. They did a mezcal tasting there. That's when they were first, you know, introduced to it. They're Henry's. What do they say? It's high earners, not rich yet. Exactly.
Yeah.
They are people that definitely are willing to invest more in quality and every aspect: shopping, you know, clothing, food and beverage, beauty, all of those things, travel experiences. So being able to meet those people where they are, whether it be a corporate event, whether it be, you know, a mezcal tasting at a, you know, bar in the East Village, you know, with mezcal enthusiasts, whether it be we've done the clothing swaps, we worked with fashion brands like Max Mara, you know, people that kind of fit those personality traits of the Doce customer, being able to do events and activations with them, obviously across social media too, and creating content, but just meeting everyone where they are and then bringing them into the Doce world, you know, creating that community, and then having the same people show up, you know, again and again, and seeing familiar faces. Yeah.
And I guess a trend that we've seen obviously in the last few years have been, you know, people are more health conscious, people aren't drinking. Yep. How have you kind of dealt with that trend, and have you seen it kind of affect Doce sales as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're definitely I think COVID was like a weird, like, just reset, because I also think a lot of people were drinking too much during COVID, you know, so I think it's kind of like a just industry reset. And I think it's more so too this newer generation. And, you know, I know how I was introduced to alcohol and different spirits and things like that, but I think this newer generation is, you know, being introduced in a different way with different formats. So that's definitely something that we think in terms of our growth and our innovation is those, you know, aspects, the fact that like the drinking trends are changing, people are drinking in different ways, you know, and how can we stay current with that. Luckily, with mezcal in particular and agave spirits, it's like the one category that truly is still seeing growth. And it really is because the consumers, especially that are drinking, are really looking for something that's additive free, that's full, or, you know, free of all of the bad stuff, really. And mezcal, tequila, agave spirits fit that bill, being truly like a plant-based spirit. That's it. It's literally agave and water, you know what I mean? And it's super kind of pure in that way. So definitely seeing like, you know, a change in just, I mean, again, we're only 3 years in. So sometimes I feel like you got to just keep going through to really see how things are panning out. Because as a newer brand, you're always just like on uptick, you know what I mean? Just because you're in the building phase. But it's definitely something that we are like monitoring, watching, and just really seeing the different formats as to how people's drinking habits are working right now. But I think cocktail culture is alive and well, whether that be at the bars or in cans or in like different things. But that definitely is something that we're seeing for sure.
And people are definitely curious, and I feel like people like mezcal isn't as well known as like vodka.
For sure, 100%. Exactly. It's definitely exactly. And you want to know it? It's something where it's like, you know, you need to just carve out a piece of the market share and to find success. And like I always think about like the water industry, for example, and they, you know, you could be Evian, you could be Saratoga, you could be Fiji, and essentially it's all the same thing, right? You know, but there's different experiences, and each brand kind of brings in the consumer in a different way. And it's just kind of remembering that, you know what I mean? It's just kind of carving out like where your brand fits like within that consumer, just mindset, experience is what they're looking for.
Yeah. And what has been like your kind of customer acquisition education as well? I feel like there's probably a lot of people don't even know what mezcal is or why yours is different.
Yeah, for
And
sure,
how have
for
you kind of
sure.
approached
Definitely working alongside our like on and off premise partners, which on premise is like bar, basically places where you're having the mezcal on site. So bars, restaurants, hotels, and then off premise retail stores. So in terms of the customer acquisition, it's kind of twofold because as a spirits brand, our customers are actually the bar, restaurants, retail stores, really not so the consumer because they're like the end game. So you're really marketing and selling B2B, but also B2C at the same time. So for us, we have our great sales team that is active here in terms of just spreading the Doce word and getting the product in front of the decision makers, the buyers, people of that nature. But then also doing a lot of the consumer events, like I mentioned, the corporate events with like a MasterCard or a Max Mara to, we do tequila and agave festivals, cocktail festivals, really bringing those like drink enthusiasts together. And it's kind of a mixture of both, you know what I mean? From store demos, meeting new customers in store, in retail locations, to then also just putting ourselves out there in front of the bar restaurant owners, hotel beverage directors, all of those industry people, because at the end of the day, those are the people that are buying our product,
For sure. And do you see I'm assuming you see pretty high customer retention. Yeah, because it's like usually people really like this mezcal, they're going to keep drinking
Yes,
it.
exactly. I think it's one of those things where, and even if they say it takes like the customer 7 times to see something before, or like try something in different ways before they do. But we have some great stores that we've had since day one, like,
Wow.
that we still do amazing there. Stores in Brooklyn, stores in Manhattan, Soho, that like you try with one customer and when they're in the mood for mezcal, they're always picking up Doce when it's there. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and we're going into the holiday season.
Yes.
Assuming big season for you guys.
Yeah.
What are your plans?
Yeah, I feel like at this point in the business, we're 3 years in. It's like I almost say we're in the boring part of it, in the sense where we are like a crawling baby. So we're figuring out, or we figured out, growth and like our kinks and like what works and where we kind of have to like innovate and kind of re-strategize. But this part of the year is always our busiest time. We call it OND, October, November, December. But in New York, as you guys know, it's always just crazy in general, but it's really a big time for getting new retail stores and also going deeper within the accounts that you're in and really selling more holiday demos, in-store tastings, store windows, all of those things. And then also for the on-premise, so bars, restaurants, hotels, that is when that kind of like menu change happens. And a lot of our volume comes from cocktail menu placements. So, making sure that we are locked into those partnerships with our different restaurant partners, hotel partners, and having those menus go live and being people able to order Doce. So that's really kind of the focus right now is just like sales. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard, especially like being a female founder and also like living in New York where it's such like a fast paced, area where everybody's constantly doing something. But now I feel like we're in the era where we're just like, let's just like the unsexy stuff is like when you have success in a business,
Yeah, totally.
so now it's just really our focus is just like, focusing on that and how to optimize that, getting our team just really like, continuing to meet our KPIs and one foot in front of the other. Yeah. Yeah.
And how are you finding these partnerships? Of course, you've been in the industry for a while, so I'm sure it's like a lot of contact and your network, but are they mostly like inbound? Are you even looking for new partnerships?
Yeah, in terms of like corporate partnerships,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I mean, we do a lot of corporate events based off like cultural moments throughout the year. So we just did an event with MasterCard for Hispanic Heritage Month, like, you know what I mean?
Cool.
And we do a lot for Women's Month, Black History Month, Cinco de Mayo, like things like that, where and it's great with Mezcal in particular because it is a spirit that does have a lot more education around it. So it's a little bit more than just like a happy hour that these companies want to come in and they want to say, hey, we're going to buy a bunch of products. We want you to come in and do a mezcal tasting. Tell us about the difference between mezcal and tequila. Walk us through your brand story, that kind of thing. So a lot of it is relationships. It's definitely inbound. I actually feel like a lot of it is relationships and inbound, which just goes back to like, you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. It's all about your network. It really is truly the case. But we've met, these relationships through personal connections, through people that have come to just tastings and they say, oh, I happen to work at this company. We're planning this in like the next 2 months. I'd love to work with you. So again, I think that goes back to how are we forming these relationships, making sure our product is placed at the right locations, where our demo is, where that kind of halo effect of the customer is. And that's kind of how a lot of these just partnerships have come about.
How did you originally fund? Did you guys, have you raised money, or are you looking to raise?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So we're in a raising process right now, but we did raise friends and family.
Nice.
And so we launched, let me see, 2022. I think we started raising friends and family like in 2020. Maybe like spring, summer of 2020 is when we started raising. And one thing definitely about beverage is different than I think the three of us really realize is how cash intensive it is. And I think spirits in particular, yes, but really beverage across the board, it's definitely something that takes a lot of capital. And definitely proud of us in the sense where we have always made, $2 look like $5. You know what I mean? And really kind of optimizing in that way. So we did a friends and family raise. And then earlier this year, we just closed our first round of strategic capital from a fund called Pronghorn.
Oh, congratulations.
So
That's
that was
amazing.
great because, it's to be able to partner with a fund that has spirits experience in particular, which I think is definitely different than, somebody who maybe is invested in beauty or tech or SaaS or whatever. It's definitely a different language. So that was really exciting. But yes, we definitely, the fundraising journey, it's a full-time job for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously very different environment than it was probably 5 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure, 100%. And that's what makes it hard, at least something I personally struggle with, is like that balance between, when you're speaking with investors and they want to see XYZ, but also it's such a time consuming process, fundraising in general. And so you're like, okay, you want to see these numbers, but I've also spent the last day and a half, 2 days doing these decks and all this due diligence and all this back and forth with you when I should be doing sales and being out there in the market. So I think it's one of those balances that's just a constant tightrope,
Yeah.
But it works out that you have, two other co-founders.
Exactly. And that's something I realized too after having my first business, was that I don't think I'm meant to be a sole founder in that way, at least especially in a business like this. Like, I know my skills, and to be able to have a team that like everybody has their different skill sets, and obviously you work together and you come together, but it's great to have support 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of solo founders. A lot of women are solo founders.
Yeah.
We have both. Probably a good
I
mix.
admire them so much.
Yeah, it's super lonely.
Yeah.
But I mean, super impressive. I think it's great to have partners.
Yeah.
Do you guys have other employees on your team? Is just
we have sales reps here in New York, and then we have someone that does social for us, a part-time social person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how has that been, like, growing your team? Has that been like a crazy
it's been great.
thing?
I mean, I will say, like, people management is like a whole another thing.
Yeah,
you know what
totally.
I mean? And kind of just running that side of the business, because we're a small business, right? So we're the founders, we're the HR, we're this, we're that, like we do everything. So, but it's been good though. I think it's nice, especially like seeing the company growth and how the company is it's still manifesting itself in the market, because in the early stages it was really like us as founders doing all the legwork, and now that transition of like people having Doce stand on its own separately from the founders necessarily having that direct relationship is really important to see, because that's we can't scale otherwise. And then with social, it's been great having someone to be able to be dedicated to that aspect of the company. It's, as you guys know, such like a full-time job. It's such an important job, so it's been great. We have a team full of amazing women. And yeah, it's exciting times.
That's awesome.
What do you think has been the most challenging part of being a founder?
I think the most challenging part is just maybe like the just up and downs and the highs and lows. It's one of those things where like one day you're like, yes, like everything is on top, like we're killing it, it's amazing. The next day you're like, oh, corporate life like doesn't look so bad. Like what's happening?
Highs,
Exactly, the highs are
yeah.
highs and lows are lows. So I think it's just like managing that aspect and like, being able to be dedicated to your business and your vision and get up every day. And like some days are easier than others, but like, I think it's just reminding yourself that like it's okay to have like to be, as long as you're putting a percentage in every single day and really moving forward, like that's all that you can do. You know what I mean? And it's all about like output, and it's all you can control. So yeah.
And then where are you spending your time now? I know you mentioned fundraising. There's probably obviously less R&D and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, really sales mode, like sales. And we just signed a distributor at the end of last year too. So just working alongside them. So really just sales has been the full focus. I was listening to another podcast and someone made a statement, which I low-key agree, which maybe it's controversial, but as a small business and a startup, you can really only be working on 3 initiatives at a time. And I fully agree with that because I think there was a moment where we were doing like a lot, you know what I mean? And it's kind of really realizing where your time is better placed and where you're going to be better suited with your ROI. So right now our focuses are social and sales and distribution. And that's really kind of where and everything else is like, you know, events and things of that nature, like when they come up, but like that's our core kind of just like laser focus at the moment.
And as you grow, congrats on the fundraising.
Thank you.
Are you looking to just expand your current product? Do you want to have different types of alcohol,
for sure.
spirits, mezcal only? What do you see?
Yes, we're definitely having those innovation conversations now. And I think what's like is interesting is we were saying earlier in terms of like the different demographics, the different age, just generations and the formats as to how people are drinking. Because when I was coming up, we would take our parents like Scotch or Grey Goose, like whatever was on the bar cart. And now this newer generation, their parents have Truly and White Claw, like, you know what I mean? So they're kind of used to seeing something else. When I was growing up, the RTDs were Mike's Hard Lemonade, Four Loko, and I don't even know, Smirnoff Ice. Like, you know, it was not a lot of options.
Yeah, it's so real.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it's just kind of seeing that like shift in terms of just how people are consuming and, you know, just monitoring that and then really being able to innovate alongside of that. So definitely planning on some new Doce products probably within the next like year or so. But yeah. Definitely exciting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this has been so fun.
Thank you.
We're so excited to see where Doce goes. I have to try a Doce cocktail.
I
gotta
know.
try something
100%.
citrus.
The blood orange.
Maybe I'll be a
Vodka girly,
convert.
but
Maybe I'll be a
Yes.
convert.
No,
We can
once I get
convert
you to
her.
try the blood orange, you'll love it.
Yeah.
I
You'll
mean,
love
that
it.
sounds like a dream
And you like a
cocktail.
Paloma, right?
I love
Yes.
I do love Palomas. I like drink Palomas. So
Yes.
that's great. So we always end on this question, especially given all your success. What advice would you give a young person who is looking to start their own company?
Yeah, for sure. I would say just building off of what I was talking about earlier in terms of being able to just remember your focus, remember your North Star, and there will be hard days. So just the days when you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, I can't go on, just like having that be in the back of your mind always. And then also just find your tribe. Like I have so many incredible female founders that like are as friends and they're the only ones that get it when I'm talking to them about hiring things or fundraising and being able to have those conversations with people that are really in the thick of it and not people that necessarily that maybe you see on a podcast that are light years ahead of you because they were building their company in a different era, like, you know, 5-10 years ago with the peak of their company, but then also they're having different challenges. So finding people that are kind of on your same subset that you can really kind of have just like-minded conversations with is something that I really would recommend. It's been a lifeline for me for sure.
That's
Awesome.
amazing.
Yes,
Well, thank you so much for coming on here, Gabby. It's amazing.
Yes,
I'm so
thank
excited.
you guys for having me.
course.
Brooke, Sola, you're the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where
And
can we find
you?
Doce?
Yeah.
We're for all the New Yorkers. We're all across the state of New York. So we are in some of our favorite bar restaurants here. Bond Street, American Bar, the Edition Hotel, the Ritz Hotel, public hotels. And then we are also, of course, in retail stores. Just find us at docemezcal.com. And we're expanding soon. So New Jersey, look out for us. And we're going to go from there. But otherwise, you can also get us online. I think we ship to 42 states.
Amazing.
So,
And your
yes.
Doce Mezcal on
Yep,
all socials.
docemezcal.com. Exactly. And Doce Mezcal on social.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Gabby.
Thank you, guys. This was
really
great.
appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, our Women's Made Pod on all socials. And hello at womensmadepod.com. Thank you so much. And drink
Cheers.
Doce.
Salud, you guys.
Woo, cheers.
Yes,
Amazing.
love it.